Well, what's up, everybody? Happy Thursday night to you and yours. It is the Sports Wheelhouse special college football playoff edition. I, of course, am Chip at Chip for the Birds and Umpire Stories, joined as always by my man JD, aka Drip, and special guest tonight from the AAT Sports Network, and apparently self-proclaimed Adam Wainwright hater, Mr. Adam Mack. Gentlemen, how are we doing this fine Thursday evening?
I'll let the guest speak.
I get to publicly say how much I hate Adam Wainwright now until the
Yeah, so I try to pay attention to the chat. So can you explain this vendetta with a guy who doesn't play?
during the Phillies playoff short run, the whole week that they're in the playoffs. Adam Wainwright and AJ Brzezinski were calling the Phillies Mets game. And if you happen to be listening, you could understand that they were the two worst commentators I've ever listened to in any sport, any level. And I just happened to tweet out how much I didn't like them, to which Adam Wainwright saw, then DM'd me saying, I don't even remember what he said. Something about like I would always like take advice from a seasoned pro like you, just trying to be a dick. So I gave into it a little bit. Then he started pouring his heart out to me and like telling me how hard it's working, how he's trying his best, and it just went really far. And then about a week later, my Twitter account got suspended for violating rules and being rude to people. So because Adam Wainwright was butthurt, a two-time World Series champion, one of the best pitchers of my generation, got butthurt over some nobody from Philadelphia, I lost my Twitter. And now I just hate him.
Okay.
It's a lot to unpack there for a college football show.
Yeah,
I know.
very much so. I'm sorry that happened to you. I can tell it's definitely trauma. That seemed to be very traumatic. And I hope that never happens to you again. That sucks.
Yeah.
That's just it's rough.
Okay. Well, on that note, we're going to get right into it because we are talking strictly college football this evening. Because I don't know if you know, gentlemen, but there is a big weekend of college football happening.
Yes.
With the first ever 12-team college football playoffs. So the first thing I want to ask you, gentlemen, and JD, you and I have talked about this a lot on our show. So Adam, I'm going to go to you first. Did the committee get the right 12 teams?
They got the right 12 teams, in my opinion. I looking at the two teams that they left, basically the first two teams are out that are essentially where kind of the debate what's going to be is Alabama and Miami.
Yes.
I don't think Alabama is as good as they are ranked this year. I just overall the level of play, I think the name Alabama has them as highly as ranked as they are right now. And then when you look at Miami, the way they ended the season with losing 2 or 3 to Georgia Tech and Syracuse, they didn't finish the season off very strong. So, and even Alabama, like they didn't finish the season off very strong. They struggled against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. They obviously lost. They didn't just lose. They got demolished by Oklahoma. And then their third to last game was against Mercer. So, again, they didn't really end the season very well.
That didn't boost their stock, yeah.
Like, even though I said same thing about Georgia struggled against Mercer to end the season. That should not be a benefit in my opinions to them. And looking at the last two teams that are in, I think Indiana again deserved one of those final spots, as well as like Tennessee, Notre Dame. So I don't think Alabama was as good as they are. I think the name Alabama put them into a position to possibly make the playoffs, and they didn't step up. They could have won out. They could have beaten Oklahoma and made that spot, but they just didn't show up. And same thing with Miami. They needed to win literally one game and be in the playoffs, and they couldn't get it done. So ultimately, they got the right 12 teams. The debate is of the stupid top 4 seeds get buys bullshit. That's the debate, but they have the right 12 teams in the playoff.
Okay. JD, are the right 12 teams in?
I'm gonna kind of say no. And I know my team is one of the ones that were on the bubble. So I say like in my good judgment, do I think Clemson should be in? I think yes, they're a conference champion. They should be in. but I think they did leave out South Carolina. I think that if you want to go on the teams that were hot at the time, yeah, they got some losses, but they also a lot of those teams that are in the playoffs, they've also beat. So that has to count for something. I just don't know what you're gonna get out of Indiana. I don't know. I don't know if they have the pedigree for it. Boise State, they've been. We do this every year. Like we'll have these
Every
like
year.
nine. We do these like we have these non-blue bloods that'll show me in, and they're supposed to make a splash and make everybody want to watch. But nobody's gonna watch. Like I'm just gonna be honest. Like nobody's gonna watch Boise State. Nobody's gonna watch like any of these like non-power five because that's not where the money is. The money is in the Southeastern Conference. And as a non-Southeastern Conference fan, non-SEC fan, I feel left out sometimes, but I know that's where the best football is being played. Um, like a team like South Carolina came into Clemson and kicked our butt, and
Mhm.
like it wasn't, and they did it pretty handily. Like I mean, there were some plays that had been here and there, but like they took care of business, and they took care of business the last couple of weeks, and they got hot at the right time. So there has to be something to be said about that. I think, but there's kind of where I feel like now we're going to get to see the Cinderella story, so to speak, with like Indiana and some of those teams. So I think they're trying to build on that storyline, but I just don't know if it makes for good football because football is such a like you line these guys up. There's not a real big chance for an upset like that in football because your 12 guys just got to be better than my 12 guys. Opposed to basketball, foul trouble can happen. All kind of things can happen with the game. Refs could call it tight. I don't think that's the necessary thing that can happen in football. So I don't know if we're gonna get that same effect with the Cinderella story this year. And we're gonna talk about this probably later on with just the climates and stuff like that and things that could
Yeah.
possibly play a factor.
And listen, my buddy Steven is the one who has this comment up. He's an umpire friend of mine. Hello, right here, my friend. Hello. Inside joke there, but yes, I mean, I kind of like the South Carolina comment.
I do.
I do feel, we spent a little bit of time talking about Alabama already. I think if Nick Saban is still the coach of Alabama, they get in no problem.
Oh yeah.
But there was a massive drop off in the quality of the program in Saban's first year not in the program.
Yeah.
So I think that held them back a little bit for sure. Miami, I mean, they lost the ACC.
Yeah.
When they let Clemson come in and win the ACC, that's why Clemson's in there.
Yep.
And to be real with you, Chip, like that's what Clemson's claim to fame is that we own the ACC. Like that's our
Yes.
claim to fame. Like even SMU in their first year coming in, they couldn't get it done against the Clemson in the ACC championship. It's basically a home game for us to play in the ACC championship. It's a less than an hour drive. My wife just went to Charlotte today. It was an hour and 15 minutes from where we live. And so it's a home game.
But I'll tell you what, watching that ACC championship game, I agree with the aspect of, look, Clemson won, obviously they were getting in, but SMU deserved to be in the championship game as well.
Oh, yeah.
Or not in the championship game, but deserved to be in the college football playoffs. Like, I think they would have done a massive disservice if they decided to put Alabama over SMU simply because of losing. If you decide to put the college championship game as a non-important game, then there's no point in having a college championship game. Alabama did not make their conference championship game. Therefore, they are not a better team on paper than SMU.
I think by, keeping SMU in the playoff, they also show the importance of playing in the conference championship game. That's the big one. Knocking SMU out because they played an extra game while Alabama sat at home. It's one of the reasons why I like Penn State staying, I guess they're the fifth seed, but the fourth ranked team over Ohio State. Yes, Ohio State beat
because Ohio State sat at home.
But Penn State's second loss came into the Big Ten championship game. And I think Alabama and Miami, they don't have the committee to blame for them not making the playoffs. They had the path to make the playoffs. They each needed to win one of their last few games, and they would be in the playoffs, and this conversation would never be happening. They're the ones that didn't step up and perform. So it's not like the last year where the committee bumped Florida State after winning the ACC because Jordan Travis was hurt. Alabama and Miami both would have made the playoff if they've won one of their last three games. No question about it.
One of the comments that I really liked is the slander that Georgia received upon, well, I guess since Georgia's starting quarterback is not probably going to play.
He is officially out for the quarterfinal game.
They should get the Florida State treatment then, since apparently that's what kept Florida State out last year.
So Beck's officially out for the quarterfinal game?
Officially out.
And Gunnar Stockton's got to lead them. Which, by the way, can we just talk about how great of a quarterback name that is?
Gunnar, yeah.
Gunnar Stockton.
John Stockton was a passer, and then this guy's got the first name of Gunnar Stockton. Like, he's got to be destined for greatness. I'll say this to the Georgia aspect of it. It is going to play a big part in their game. Just because he's a new starter. He hasn't been starting. He's coming in the biggest game of possibly his career. But Georgia's success is predicated on the run. And as long as ETN is healthy, which he will be, they're going to hand that ball off and tell people to get the heck out of the way. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
It ain't
absolutely.
He's not going to put the ball in harm's way. You may see some digging dumps down to the tight end a couple of times. He can throw the ball 5 yards, let the guys do the rest of the work. So that won't be a complex game plan. Georgia's game plan is never complex. It's hand it to my running back and depend on my defense to win me the game. Like, they have a good enough chance than anyone else in that playoff to take the whole thing.
And speaking of taking the whole thing, let's transition to topic 2 of the evening. The Heisman heist.
What are we doing? What are we doing? So,
Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy last weekend. I have some thoughts.
I can't wait to hear this.
I have quite a few thoughts, actually.
They better be good ones.
I personally feel
Can I go after you?
Should have won.
That Ashton Jeanty should have absolutely won the Heisman.
How? Oh my God! No, I'll go. You go ahead, please go. I can't make yourself big because I want you to be the only donkey of the day today. Please.
Travis Hunter had a good season for a wide receiver and a good season for a cornerback. He in no way had a Heisman level season. With that being said, Ashton Jeanty is going to set records, all-time rushing records this season. He had an all-time season, and yet he is not the Heisman Trophy winner. If you look at the fan vote, if you look at most people, Ashton Jeanty had the single best season in college football, which is what the award is supposed to be. That's what the award is supposed to be for. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You can start us off, JD.
Yeah, I can't wait for this. Make me big now. Do your thing.
Oh, okay.
Make me big.
All right, so I'll start it off. So looking at his thing, according to PFF, he was the highest rated cornerback in college football this year. Wide receiver wise, he was 6th in receiving yards, 2nd in touchdowns. No, all right. Don't get me wrong.
Because they padded stats the last couple
of
games.
Not great stats for both of them. But the reason why Travis Hunter won the award and what makes him so special is that he's able to play at such a high level at both positions at the same time. 10 years from now, we're going to be talking about how Travis Hunter played at this elite level at both positions. Truthfully. We're not going to talk about Jeanty's running back, how great of a season he had. We're going to be talking about how we have a two-way player in Travis Hunter right now who have played at such a high level. Like, truthfully, he's going into this draft as one of the best wide receiver and cornerback prospects.
But he's not going to play both.
Okay. Well, he could, though.
Cleveland Browns.
Can you tap me in now? Can you tag him? Yep. Tag him in. All right. Number one, Chip, I don't know if there's weed or meth or any of that stuff up there, but if you do, you need to call for help. And I don't know what's in that Coors bottle, but it might not be Coors. And I just want to, and I want to throw this out. Like, Jeanty is a great running back. Do not get me wrong. Great running back. he's not a Heisman this year because he ran up against a buzzsaw. Because the guy is exceptional at both positions. The reason that his rating had dropped for DBs because they stopped throwing to his side.
Okay.
They stopped throwing to his side. And so how about your rookie shutdown quarter you just got this year?
Quinyon Mitchell, baby.
Wow. Wouldn't you love? Do you think Quinyon Mitchell is better than Travis Hunter coming out of college? I don't think so, buddy. And we're singing his praises. This guy can also play receiver at the same elite level. It's almost like a guy that can use both hands in basketball. Right hand look like left hand. He's ambidextrous.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
I'm not done. He's left hand like right hand. So it's the same thing. And so when you take a guy that's playing on elite level who's being targeted every game, double teamed, he's still catching the ball. He's still at a high level doing what he's doing. And he's taking twice the number of snaps than Genty. Twice the number of snaps. And his quality, his production, none of that is dropping. So you can talk about he won't do it in the pros, but we're talking about his college career. And nobody's done that in college. That's what's historical. Not that this guy's gonna run for 1 million yards. Are great. A lot of guys run for 1 million yards. What doesn't happen is guys play both ways at a high level, and it doesn't switch from offense to defense.
Wait, tap me in real quick. I got one more point. Wait, sweet. One last point to go off of that. With Hunter, him playing at such a high level, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think he played around like 1,100 snaps this year, which is by far the most in college football. The next closest player had like 400 snaps less than him. The fact that he's playing at such a high level at that many snaps and stayed healthy is even the bigger one. We saw the last year that he couldn't even stay on the field. The fact that he could stay healthy through that, fucking give him every award in the books. That's all I got for Travis Hunter.
So here's the last thing I'm going to say. Adam, you had to bring up Pro Football Focus numbers to back up your point. JD, you had to change sports to accentuate your point. The numbers are the numbers are the numbers. Boise State is not in the college football playoffs without Ashton Genty. With Travis Hunter, the alleged best player in college football, Colorado still didn't make it. So if you're looking at it as who is the best single player, without Ashton Genty, Boise State does not have the same level of success. And you're talking about snaps. Ashton Genty is carrying the ball 30, 32, 34, 35 times a game. He is their absolute workhorse, and he is still producing at a high level. He is going to shatter all of these numbers. And Ed, this is exactly my point. That last game of the season, they did everything they needed to pad Travis Hunter's stats right before the Heisman vote. In my mind, is an absolute no-brainer that Genty was more of a contributing member of a successful team than Travis Hunter was. Travis Hunter's team improved and did better, but Travis Hunter should not have won the Heisman.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. The other guy that could have been close to beating Travis Hunter, also wore the same uniform as him. So let's be real. At the beginning, hold on,
the other guy. No. The other guy that should have beaten Travis Hunter.
No. Wait,
and this is
all I'm saying is I let you finish. I'm just saying I let you finish. So here we go. I'm just gonna throw it out there. In the beginning of the year, the odds on Heisman favorites was Travis Hunter and Shadir Sanders. So at some point,
Because of why? Dion.
Okay, that's fair. Coaches matter. That's how many Alabama Alabama players have the Heisman?
Agreed.
Don't worry. I'll wait. And then so the next point,
Adam gave me 3.
And so if you give us 3, then we take in consideration all things being considered. I've never seen a player win the Heisman with another Heisman candidate on his team, and then you completely forget about the other guy because of the other guy. Like,
excuse me, ahead, which is kind of my point, because if you look at the MVP consideration in the NFL, because of how successful Derrick Henry has been, it is absolutely why Lamar Jackson is not in contention for the MVP award anymore.
I see these comments here, and
these comments are amazing, right?
And I'm not
Right.
not going past you. The one that Ed says, I mean, I get that, man. Like, but the thing about it is, you give me twice the amount of snaps and see if I'm going to be as as effective. I know dudes that can't play one position. This dude plays two
Agreed.
positions.
Agreed.
So
And
so
so
if I,
if winning matters, then none of them should have won it. And Dylan Gabriel should have been hoisting the Heisman because he is the undefeated quarterback of the number one team.
but I will say this though, and this is probably like I think that everybody's saying Oregon's number one, but I don't have a lot of people picking them to win it. So there's something to be said about that. And
Agreed.
I'm also gonna throw this out there again, like you know how you said I made the analogy about basketball, I had to go to basketball
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's no other way to explain what this guy does
Oh
on a
my
football field.
God.
Is there anybody else like him? You name him. Name the last
I
one.
compare him a lot to Otani, to be honest. He's
That's
playing
another
at,
sport though.
yeah. But in football, like there's no like the only person you can really say that plays like a
Otani,
hybrid
yeah.
role. There you go. Like
And he's the what
like,
MVP, right? He's the MVP, right?
But he didn't pitch
he's
this
won one or
season.
two.
But he's been the MVP, right? Because he's so versatile, right?
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you. The versatility is wonderful. I am saying if you are looking at strict numbers this year, Genty's numbers and importance to his team were better than Travis Hunter's.
That's at one position, Chip. Look at his numbers for both positions. But the team doesn't win without Travis Hunter. They can't even win with him.
Whoa. To back up what you said,
What do you
yes,
mean?
they do, because Shedeur Sanders was equally in the Heisman conversation at the beginning of the year. So they had two great players. They would have won some games if Travis Hunter hadn't played.
How many games did they win before? How many games did Colorado win?
I don't live, breathe,
Oh,
eat, sleep,
I
Deion
see.
Sanders.
I'm sorry. Two
Thank
wins.
you, too. Appreciate you. Thanks, Adam.
This year they were up for like I'm pretty sure they were up for like playoff contention, right? At some point.
Then give Deion the Heisman.
You could. He should get it.
He should.
I mean, he's not going to win Coach of the Year. They're going to give that to. They gave it to the cat from Indiana, didn't they?
Yeah.
I don't know who they gave it to. I can care less who wins that.
The dude from Indiana.
But Chip, to your point, I think if Travis Hunter's not in it, Genty wins easy. But like I said, he ran into a buzzsaw. There's just sometimes you bring a knife to a gunfight. This guy's got two guns, you got a knife. Like this guy's gonna kill you.
I tend to disagree. I felt strongly about. Here's the thing: as I'm watching the Heisman Trophy presentation, I knew what I wanted. I knew what was going to happen, and I was right on both accounts. I knew Travis Hunter was going to win.
Okay, fair enough.
You know what I mean? Like I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't think that it should. Speaking of things that should be changed a little bit before we get into the actual game-by-game breakdown, can we talk about this transfer portal shenanigans?
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Okay. I have no issue with the transfer portal itself. I have issue with the timing of the transfer portal. And I'm bringing it to simply 1 point and 1 point only. Penn State, their backup quarterback who is involved in packages in their offense, is going to have to sit out. Not even sit out. He is no longer a member of Penn State, and they are playing in the college football playoffs. I think it was an oversight by all of college football. I don't even think that they processed that this was going to happen, and there will be an adjustment now moving forward. There has to be.
Do you want to take this or you want me to get it first?
I mean, Adam is nodding. I see he's got thoughts.
I mean, I'm a Marshall fan. I'm a Marshall alum. Marshall is fully opted out of the bowl game due to literally having no coaching staff and 20 players on the roster because the rest of them joined the portal, hopped in the portal. And even with the point about Bo Prabula, like I don't blame the players at all. I blame the system.
Exactly.
Like I don't blame the players. They're doing what they have to do. None of them want to be in this situation, but if they want an opportunity to compete, they need to hop in the portal early. Like these teams, like they only have a few spots available, and once they fill up, they fill up. So
and that's why Bo had to do when he did it.
I don't blame Bo at all. It sucks.
No, neither do I.
It sucks, but like if the the NCAA really wants to nip this in the butt. They keep the portal the way it is, but you
nip
can
it.
enter the
Hold on,
portal
hold on, hold on.
after
I'm
the
sorry.
playoffs.
You nip things in the bud,
in the
not
butt.
the butt.
Whatever, same thing.
This is what Chip does. He like embarrasses people on national
No,
TV.
I'm sorry.
I came on the show
That's
as his guest, and this is how he's treating me.
that's true. You know what? I deeply apologize. If you need to hit the transfer portal to find a better show, please do. I'm sure Adam Wainwright's hosting a show that you can be involved in.
I want to thank AAT Sports for everything for the last few years. It's really been great. After discussion with my family and my coaches, I'm hopping in the portal.
Well, according to Steven, what should happen is you should have to sit out a year.
Okay. And I just want to jump in here real quick because I agree with you. I agree with both of your points as far as some of that stuff. But I will say this: this year they took away the National Day signing day. They still have it, but they're not actually signing anything anymore. Because the kind of the platform has changed, and I didn't notice until one of our players he signed this year. They're not actually signing anything now. They used to sign a document or whatever, but what you're signing now is only for 1 year. And I've always known that it's been a year to year obligation for the schools. But it's even more so now that they want to take the obligation off of themselves as a school now because all the power is in the players' hands at this point. It's becoming a players' league. Unfortunately, you're going to go to the highest bidder now.
Yep.
And because money is now an option that it can't be just kind of given out, schools that have a lot more money are going to now reap the benefits. There is some parity now. Don't get me wrong. There is some parity that's coming about. That's why you see different teams coming out, kind of getting some guys that can kind of change the trajectory of their program. However, I would like to show light that all these kids that jump in the portal, only about 25% of them actually find a new home. And so that leaves a lot of players going without thinking the grass is greener somewhere else. I do agree with what Ed is saying. A lot of the things that happen to transfer sort of sucks and it creates that parity. But with saying that, it's almost like you're almost got playing with fire because if you leave that school that you might just be having to wait your turn to go somewhere else, you don't know if that next program is going to be good or if that program is just as bad as the one you just left, or those players that you get have bad habits from said old program. That's why you see guys like DJ Ongalele, who's been to 3 different schools and it hasn't worked out yet. And so finally he got to the last one and they're just kind of like, this guy was trash the first 2 places he went. So you'll continue to see.
I'm going to declare for the draft.
Yeah, I'm going to declare for the draft, or hey, I'm just going to hang it up. But that could have been done 2 years ago when she walked in at Division I school and they told you weren't good enough and told you that by your playing time. So I'm fully aware of what you guys are saying. You guys have really great points, and the transfer portal will need to switch. But the transfer portal is also choking out a lot of guys that ain't meant to be there.
Well, and so there's a couple of things that jump to my mind. So I think of Josiah Trotter, his younger brother.
His younger brother.
He was a stud at West Virginia. Now he's over at Mizzou. He's transferring over there. Why? Because maybe it's a better program and it's higher caliber competition. I don't know. But I also look at Texas. Texas right now, Quinn Ewers, there is a lot of talk of him going somewhere else. Why? Because they've already anointed Arch Manning to be the next whatever. But in reality, Quinn Ewers should probably stay where he's being successful since his team is in the college football playoffs. The same way we were just talking about Bo with Penn State, Drew Aller is now coming back, which is why Bo is transferring. I just think it's causing a lot of havoc, and I think the thing that really needs to change the most is the timing of it. You have to let the season end before you open up the portal.
But you can't though, because and I'll let you go ahead and speak, but the timing of it is perfect though, because those coaches start getting fired when the season ends. You can't tell me I can't jump in a portal when I know my coaches are coming back 2 weeks before the season's over, or I can't leave because I know my position is up for grabs because they've been recruiting 7 different guys in my position.
Which is where now, and I don't know if Stanford is the first one to do it, but it's the first one I heard of. Stanford hired Andrew Luck as their college football GM.
Mm-hmm.
It is a full-on business decision.
For sure. Go ahead.
But you gotta also
Adam, what you got,
some
dude?
of these players like Quinn Ewers, like if he were to declare for the draft right now, he's not going to be a first, second, third. He's not. He's a day 3 pick. So
Yep.
for
Easily.
him right now,
Easily.
going back to college for another year, he's going to make more money, and he's not going to hurt his draft stock. He's going to 1,000. He can only help his draft stock while also making more money. So yeah, like he's having a lot of success right now at Texas. But if say Texas is giving him $7.5 million, and Michigan or Ohio State's going to pay him $10 million next year, why wouldn't I go play back to Ohio State or Michigan? Like I'm only going to help my draft stock. Like it can't get worse. I'm a 6th round pick right now. I'm either 7th or an undrafted free agent next year. Like, and I can make $10 million to do the same thing I'm doing in the NFL.
And I'm going to be honest, as a teacher, I feel very disappointed in myself that it took Conaway to come on here and point out that they're student athletes and they probably have to do with semesters and enrollment dates and things like that, as well as all the other football stuff. I forgot that they actually have to go to class and do things there too.
I didn't come here to play school. Just saying.
I'm just saying that's a great point.
But how many of these guys who enter the portal actually enroll in classes in the spring semester? Because I remember when I was at Marshall, there was a bunch of guys. There was one guy, he was a wide receiver, hopped in the portal, committed to Oklahoma, was at Marshall through that spring semester, and then enrolled at Oklahoma in the summer. So, yes, they might be committing, but like, do they actually enroll in classes right away at that spring semester? If they do, it makes sense at the portal now. But if they don't enroll in classes until the summer, there doesn't matter if they commit now or if they commit in May. They're still enrolling by the summer or whenever.
And again, we know that they're not really interested in the academics of it all.
Well, there's a piece to that too. Like
Travis Hunter's never missed a day of class.
Well, there's a piece to this.
He went to 2 at the same time.
Well, there's a piece to this too, guys.
Just ran back and forth.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I'm just keep cutting you off. I feel bad. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you get. So there's a piece to this that we're not really discussing, and I think we probably should throw out there. Like, you still got high school seniors that are coming in December. So like there's still that piece. Like a big recruit from down here is going to Kentucky in like a week. So if you're a transfer kid that's also now competing for a spot in this to get ready for a spring game, because that spring game is in March now or April. So you don't have a big long turnaround time to get acclimated to your new team. So that's also a huge piece of it. So that's why with you, like, I understand what you're saying about you need to make it a different time, but like you can't really, because the playoffs now is getting pushed out because of the expansion of the playoffs.
So far.
So now it's getting pushed out when guys are going to be trying to transfer that not happy. So there's going to be the same argument before long about guys sitting out the bowl game, but they're going to be meaningful bowl games because they're not happy with the current team they're on, even if that team's in the playoffs. So we got to just start like kind of curbing our enthusiasm to really realize that this is a business and these kids are going to be jumping ship if they need to, and they're not in the rotation. So you're going to see a lot more of that.
All right. Well, speaking of things we're going to see a lot more of, college football playoff games. So let's go through it, make some predictions. Let me ask you this while we start to think about the bracket. Which game are you most excited for? Adam, I'm going to start with you.
I think outside of me being a Penn State
quarterfinal round.
Yeah, I'm obviously a Penn State fan. I'm excited for that. However, I'm really excited for the Indiana Notre Dame game, which I know is not a popular opinion, but I'm excited to kind of truly see where both of these teams match up with. It's going to tell us a lot about both of them, but also kind of tells a little bit about Ohio State as well. If Indiana goes in there and gets absolutely demolished, we now can kind of cross that game off of Ohio State. That was a kind of great win for them. But also we can kind of now see where Notre Dame ranks up. Like every single year, it's the same conversation of Notre Dame. They don't play anybody. They get to the playoffs. They get demolished. I really like this Notre Dame team this year. I'm kind of also a fan of Indiana, of what they've been able to do, kind of a Cinderella run they've had this season. But I think we're going to learn a lot about that side of the bracket, especially now with Georgia, with Carson Beck being hurt. That game, very well, one of those two teams could be going to the semifinals fairly easily. So I'm intrigued to see what we're gonna get. I think it's gonna be an evenly matched game, but it's gonna tell us a lot about how the rest of this bracket's gonna fall out from that one game.
JD, besides the Clemson game, which one are you most excited for?
Do you want my honest opinion?
Yeah.
Ohio State, Tennessee. You got a team that's not used to playing in the North. Like, dude, it's an 8 o'clock game on Saturday night. The temperatures don't look like they're going to be a great situation, but I will be. I'm gonna be honest with you. They're gonna face some adversity just playing in Ohio State, in Columbus, on a cold, brisk night. And you know their quarterback's from California. Like he ain't no.
He's a Californian.
Yeah, he's a Californian. I think he's Polynesian, so he ain't. He might even be a Hawaii kid. I just want to see how climate is going to play a part in this thing.
Yeah.
Because as teams host games, I would not want to go to Michigan. I would not want to go to Nebraska. I would not want to go to any of these schools up north for the playoff game. So it almost guarantees if you're a northern team, you may end up having a chance to take out one of these southern teams because they're just not used to playing in those conditions.
Well, I mean, look at the Penn State game. They've got SMU coming in, and it's going to be
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't think SMU. They had a hard time in Charlotte, and it was cold and it was brittle in Charlotte, and they had a hard time at the beginning. They came back at the end, but they got their butts handed to them at first.
Yeah, I think the thing I'm most excited for is just the different matchups that the 12 teams provide. You're going to see some things that we really haven't seen before. Not so much this year. There's some good ones, but there's nothing like the most unique matchup to me is the SMU Penn State matchup. Because I don't know when those teams have those teams, Adam, ever played each other. I know you did a big.
This is going to be their third time playing and the first time in over 50 years.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of what I'm saying. That's pretty dang cool. But let's break it down game by game and we'll see what happens. Tennessee versus Ohio State. JD, start us off.
I got Tennessee taking the big L. I got Ohio State playing Northern football. I got them running the ball and that big offensive line and just getting behind and pushing and pushing and pushing. I think Nico's gonna have a hard time holding on to that ball, and those receivers are gonna have brick hands. It's gonna be brick outside. It's gonna be honest. Like, in Philly, it's gonna be brick. So if it's brick and you gotta go catch that ball, it's not an indoor stadium. It could possibly even snow. You never even know. It could snow there. And so you just gotta deal with that. I don't think this bodes well for Tennessee's air attack because of the cold.
Yeah. Adam, who you taking?
So I think this game's a lot closer than what I think people are giving it. I think Ohio State wins in the end. I think it's what the difference maker is going to be Tennessee's pass rush. They have a really good pass rush already to begin with, and I'm really struggling right now looking at that Ohio State offensive line. They are banged up. Obviously coming off the loss to Michigan is a absolutely horrible defeat. I question if Ryan Day is truly going to be able to rally this team behind after that Michigan loss. I continue to say he's one of the most, if not the most overrated coaches in college football, even more than James Franklin.
It's a close competition there.
I said at the beginning of the season.
That may be the only place in my mind where James Franklin does beat Ryan Day.
Probably.
But that one was a great setup. I appreciate you for that.
This year, I said that this is the most talented team Ryan Day has had since he's come to Ohio State, or at least taken over as the head coach at Ohio State.
Yeah.
This has been the most talented team he's had. But when I watch them play, I don't feel that when I'm watching that. They were my national champion pick at the start of the season, but they just haven't played up to that standard. But the two losses Tennessee has had this year has come due to their secondary falling apart. Ohio State has the best wide receiver room in college football, and they have played to that level. I think that's going to be the difference maker. If Ohio State loses, it's going to be because Will Howard has no time in the pocket.
Yeah.
And that Tennessee pass rush just walks through that offensive line. If that offensive line can give him just a second or two in the pocket, Jeremiah, what's his name? Jeremiah Smith and the other one, Amika
Agupe.
Yeah, him too. They'll just walk right through that secondary all day.
I have Ohio State winning as well. Not so much because of the pass rush of Tennessee, but because I don't think Will Howard is a very good quarterback. But I think he's good enough to beat Tennessee in the cold. I think that look, Ohio State has a humongous me on their shoulder after the way they played the season,
Oh
not
yeah.
having an opportunity to play for the Big Ten championship. So they're going to come out really gunslinging. But I think Will Howard is really jumpy at the wrong times. He makes some really bad decisions. He is not the level of quarterback that we've seen from Ohio State recently in, your CJ Strouds and your Justin Fields, like these guys who really dominated there. Will Howard ain't that guy. So I do think Ohio State gets through this week, setting up a pretty important Big Ten matchup in the next round. But I don't think that they're going to go much further simply because their quarterback play is going to hold them back. So, all right, we all have Ohio State moving on. JD, I'm going to force you to go third on this one.
I'm good, dude. I'm fine with whatever. Yeah. I got
You're
some.
gonna
I
go.
got some. I got some hot takes, baby.
You're going to go third on this one.
That's fine.
Adam, Clemson versus Texas. What say you? And just so you know, I'm writing these all down. I'm setting up our brackets.
That's fair. I think of all 4 matchups, I think this is probably the most likely to be a blowout. I really like Texas. Texas was my national champion pick at the start of the season, and I'm still riding with them now. I mean, truly outside of anyone not named Georgia, Texas has really had their way with everyone they played this year. They've given up only 300 yards once this season, and they won that game 49-14 against Florida. Texas has a really good defense. The big concern with them is going to be if Quinn Ewers is 100%. But seeing as Arch Manning has filled in a void for them when he goes down or some different packages, I still like Texas to get the win. I'm going to take Texas on this one. Sorry, JD.
I think, for me, I think that Texas making the move to the SEC and doing what they did in their first year, it says a lot to me. I think that they're a very good team. Clemson has gotten hot at the right moment, but for the fact of they win the ACC, they're not in this thing. So I do think that it's kind of the ultimate David and Goliath matchup here. And in this situation, I do have Texas winning this first round. All right, JD, we release.
I've been waiting. I'm a sports bettor. You know that I do my sports betting thing. Any team that is a 12-point underdog is probably a good bet to make. Just because that's just ungodly amount of points. We're dealing with 17, 18, 20, 21-year-olds being focused. Texas, I don't really think has been there. And that's why I think that Clemson's Dabo's kind of expertise in getting these guys kind of wrapped up for the playoff, and they've been there a couple of times now. They kind of know how to handle it. You're going into a hostile environment in Texas. That place is going to be rocking. I will say this. Clinton Ewers has struggled with defenses that look like Georgia's.
Yes.
And Clemson's defense looks a lot like Georgia's defense as far as their front four. And they can get pressure with their front four. So they don't lose a lot in the back end. They get Terrell back this year. I mean, he's been kind of in and out all year. AJ Terrell's little brother. So they're going to hold out a little bit better. And I think that because this is another storyline piece, I don't know if this is that big of a deal, but Clay Cumnick is from Texas. This is a homecoming for this kid. So I am very, very interested to see if he can do what he kind of did to SMU at the beginning, just because he has a chip on his shoulder, and kind of lead us. I have Clemson winning, but by a field goal. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy, but I think if they can keep it close to the end, I think just there's no pressure on Clemson to win. There's no pressure. We weren't even supposed to be here. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're playing with house money. And there's also a level of clout that's hanging over Ewers because of Arch Manning. He cast such a huge shadow.
It's been all season.
If he plays bad to begin that game and they don't start off hot, they'll be calling for him to come out the game, and that can mess with him psychologically. We've been there a couple years when we had Clay, Cade, and we had DJ. It can mess with the team. I got Clemson winning this game by a field goal just because of the simple fact that like we've been here and this. You're saying there's a chance, yo. There's a chance.
Okay. So we're going to stay on the left side of the bracket to start.
Let's go.
We're going to stay on that left side of the bracket, which means we are all in agreement that the round 2 matchup will be Ohio State versus Oregon.
Yes. Which is a rematch, right?
This is what the Big Ten championship should have been. But for Ohio State being unable to beat Michigan ever.
Yep.
They beat them before.
It's not since Ryan Day's been there.
That's true.
Okay. I'm going to start off on this one.
Okay.
Again, I'll trash Will Howard all day, every day. Oregon's winning this game. Oregon has not lost a game this season. I know it's tough when you play a team multiple times, but when you break down just the quarterback position alone, I think that Dylan Gabriel is a much better quarterback than Will Howard. I do not think that Ryan Day, when it comes to big games against ranked teams, it's a James Franklin problem. He struggles. And this is now, you're going to Oregon, so you're making a no, I'm sorry. This is a game on a neutral site. I apologize. Yeah,
this is Robo neutral site. This ain't California, though.
Yeah, so it's still a cross-country trip. It's still in a cross-country trip. I do think that Oregon's going to win this game, and I don't think it's going to be as close as it should be if they had a better quarterback in Ohio State.
You want me to go second, or you want to take
whoever wants to go.
I'm kind of in the same mindset. I don't trust Ryan Day. I just don't. Like I think he's generally a F up. And until he wins it, like how they used to make fun of Kirby Smart until he won the big one, he's not going to win the big one until he actually wins it. So I don't see him getting past this Oregon team who's hot. They're playing for each other right now too. So that's always a huge thing. And they have a quarterback that's kind of leading them. So I'm going to go with Oregon just based on their leadership alone with Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, I think if this game would have happened, like I'd say 3 weeks ago, before the Michigan game, before the injuries piled up on Ohio State, I would have taken Ohio State in this game. I think if this game was when they originally played back in week 5 or 6, whenever it was, if that game was played on a neutral site, Ohio State was going to win by a touchdown in that game.
Yep.
That's fair.
But right now, like again, that offensive line is a huge concern right now for me for that Ohio State team.
And Oregon gets after it.
If Ohio State was healthy on the O-line, I would have no issues taking Ohio State right here. But that offensive line is a major concern right now for Ohio State. And so I'm taking Oregon. But I just want to also point out that Oregon won the Big Ten, and their first matchup in the playoff is against either Ohio State or Tennessee on a neutral site, while Penn State, who lost the Big Ten championship, is going to get SMU at home and then a neutral site against Boise. Just had to throw that one out there, which I think is just absolutely.
Yeah, and Conway's the absolute. I mean, absolutely Penn State got the easiest draw on the line, so much so it could take him to the semifinals pretty easily. But we're going to get to that side of the bracket real soon. So that means moving down, we all took Oregon, so that's great. But that means that it's either going to be Clemson versus Arizona State, JD, that's your matchup, or Texas versus Arizona State. So, JD, you're riding with your boys in another game?
Yeah, Arizona State sucks. They only got the guy. They only got the one guy. He doesn't show me anything. And I'm gonna say this. I got Texas or Clemson beating them. I think they have the easiest. I think this one has the easiest draw. Whoever wins that first one, I think they're putting themselves in it. I don't think they have the firepower to stop either one of these damn defenses. Period. And what's the guy's name? Shaboizi? What's his name? Shabuki?
I think he wrote a song.
No, what's the guy's name? He has a weird name. The running back.
Skibbity Bop.
Skibbity Beat.
Hold on. Let me go back because I know Todd. My boy Todd, another umpire friend of mine, is a big ASU fan.
Okay.
So he said Cam Scattaboo is going to run over everybody. And then along the past comments, he also said the coach of the year should have been the coach of ASU. And go ASU. Got it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna throw this out there, and I'm hope maybe he's still here. Whatever. They're not beating Texas, and they're not beating Clemson. They don't have the pedigree to be either one of those teams. And there's a saying that defense travels, and both of these teams have a defense. And they have damn good defenses. As long as they don't take each other out playing the game against each other, then they will both be able to beat Arizona State, and I would move them on to that next round. So that's my answer.
Adam.
Yeah, Texas, like, even if Clemson wins this game, both of these teams are going to walk over Arizona State. I'm looking at Arizona State's schedule right now. Like, they played absolutely nobody.
Nobody.
They played their only ranked wins were against Utah, which at that point Utah was still somehow kind of ranked, even though they finished third to last in the Big 12. They squeaked out a win against K-State, squeaked out a win against BYU. Good win in the Big 12 championship against Iowa State. But again, we're not talking about Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. We're not talking about Tennessee, Bama, Florida, South Carolina, Georgia. We're talking about the Big 12. Like, these aren't really good teams.
The
Like,
Big 12 is not what the Big 12 used to be.
The Big 12 was not good this year. I remember discussions that the Big 12 possibly could have missed the playoffs entirely if Tulane didn't fuck around. If Tulane didn't fuck around, Tulane would have made the playoffs and Arizona State would have been out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I don't think Arizona State's played anybody. Texas and Clemson are both just too good and too,
they're actual powerhouse programs.
Yeah.
I think
but this is what everyone wanted, though. This is what everyone wanted.
Agreed. But if you look at what the Big 12 used to be compared to what it is now, Iowa State versus Arizona State is not the marquee matchup that you think it is, when the Big 12 used to have teams like, I don't know, Oklahoma,
Texas.
Texas. So this is apparently a classic Big 12 matchup.
Hey, it's the Big 12 championship game we're getting.
There you go. Texas is going to mollywop Arizona State. It's just it is what it is. It's going to happen. They didn't know guess. That's what it's going to be.
It is what it is. That's why they should have put South Carolina in took that spot. Like, give South Carolina a run. Them dudes are hoop. Them dudes can play, dude.
All right, which puts us in the semifinals, I believe. Yes.
Yep.
All right, hold on. Let me change this.
Are you like picking these in real time?
Yeah.
Oh.
Only the best. We have only the best here.
That's how I like to roll. All right. So that means in the semifinals, JD, you've got Clemson versus Oregon for a chance to play in the championship. And the real brains of the matchups have Texas and Oregon going the same way, which could be a great game. So, JD, you're the oddball out here. Tell me why Clemson's going to beat Oregon by a field goal.
I don't think they beat them by a field goal, my friends. I think if they win 2 rounds, you're gonna get that old classic Trevor Lawrence type. I'm telling. Listen, just hear me out. Just hear me out. Let's hear me out.
This is the most homer you have been in all the years that I've known you.
I'm telling. Listen, just hear me out. I'm just saying, if Clemson beats Texas and ASU when they weren't supposed to be in there. The last time this happened is when Alabama almost missed the playoff that year, and they snuck in and they went and won it. Dude, you don't give teams like this type of pedigree a chance. Like, you just don't do it. They'll find a way. They will find a way. And to be honest, we already said with Oregon, I'm not really sure that I know they're good, but nobody's picked them to win it. Like, all the real people, no one's picked Oregon to win it. So why can't it be us? Why can't we beat them? So that's all I'm saying. If Texas is there, Texas is going to mollywop these guys. Like, they're going to absolutely just tear it out their faces. That's all I'm saying. Either one of these teams move on. I told you, Texas and Clemson have the easiest route to the college football championship. I already told you that.
Okay, so you have picked Clemson to be in the college football championship.
Clemson or Texas. I'm telling you, it's either or. It doesn't matter. It's
but
either or.
In your real-time picks, You have
I'll
picked
pick.
Clemson to be there.
Yes, if Clemson wins that first game by field goal, they will roll through the rest of this thing.
All right. To the voice of reason here, Adam, go. What you got?
Hook 'em.
Hook 'em horns.
Oh my!
Like I said, I think Texas is the best. I've said it before. Texas is the best team in college football this year. That's as long as they don't play a team that's named Georgia. I love what I'm looking at, like right now at some of their numbers. Their rushing game is a lot deeper than what I really thought of. They have four guys with at least 3 rushing touchdowns. One of them is Arch Manning. So they have a deep rushing game. They obviously have 2 quarterbacks. Their defense truly is elite in this league. Like I said, they've only given up 300 yards once this season, and they still won that game 49-14. So I really like this defense. I really like Quinn Ewers. And when it comes to Oregon, they haven't also been as tested as what we've thought about this year. They got Ohio State. They beat Penn State, but they haven't really faced much else outside of that. They did play Boise, where they squeaked out a victory, but are they good? Yes. Are they good enough to be in the semifinals? Yes. Are they good to win a national championship? I don't think so. Texas was my pick at the start. Hook 'em. And I love Matthew McConaughey, so.
Okay.
And they almost lost to, and just throw this out there. Oregon almost lost to Wisconsin. They almost lost to Boise, you said, and they struggled to beat Idaho. They're not impenetrable.
They're beatable.
And
they are.
And Penn State, they only beat them by what, touchdown?
Yeah.
But in this game, Oregon will win. And here's why. So we have our first total difference. We have 3 different teams in the championship here. I think Oregon wins for the simple fact of their speed at which they can score. It is a straight up sprint at any and all times. So if Oregon makes 1 or 2 stops on Texas, and we've already mentioned the Quinn Ewers psychological factor, I think that Oregon has the ability to run them out of whatever arena that they are playing in. I do think, and pass them out of, they are just so quick. They score so quickly. Dylan Gabriel has been basically untouched most of the season. His numbers are ridiculous since we're going to go all the way back to the Heisman conversation. I do think that Oregon makes their way into the national championship game. I think it's a very tight, close game against Texas because Texas is a part of the Big 12 SEC combo division, whatever you want to call it. And that's a different level of football. But, Oregon has not lost yet. And I don't see them losing that close to the championship. Now, championship game's a different story. I have some thoughts, but I do have Oregon squeaking out a Texas-sized victory. Okay. To the right side. Indiana versus Notre Dame. These schools are 25 miles from each other?
Something like that.
It's close.
Yeah, no. Something like that. They're a lot closer than what people think.
Yep. And because of that, Adam, start us off. Indiana versus Notre Dame. Who you taking?
I'll get into my reasoning why, but first, easy. Here comes the Irish, man. It's going to come down to the Indiana offense versus this Notre Dame defense. Notre Dame, of the 12 teams in the playoffs, Notre Dame has the best defense, and it's not even remotely close right now. Indiana's 2 best defenses that they faced this year were Ohio State and Michigan. Their 2 worst offensive games this year were Ohio State and Michigan. I don't think they're going to be able to match up at all against Notre Dame, the Notre Dame defense, truthfully. I think Notre Dame wins this game. Going into Notre Dame Stadium, seeing Touchdown Jesus, not an easy place to play. We always talk about Happy Valley, the shoe,
Notre Dame's right up there.
Valleys, Alabama. Going into Notre Dame under the lights is a tough place to play. I've harped on Indiana for this all year. They haven't played anybody. The only time they played somebody, they got absolutely steamrolled. I think this Notre Dame defense is what's going to take them far into this playoff, and it's going to start easily with a cakewalk with Indiana.
Yeah, I'm going to take next. I agree. Indiana, has not really played anybody. And for the longest time, they were undefeated. And, JD and I have talked about this a lot. When a team is undefeated, I think they deserve a chance. But this is a team that had their chance and started blowing it against real college football programs. And right now, Notre Dame is playing some of its best football. I just don't think that Indiana goes into Notre Dame, like you said, in prime time with everybody watching and loses this game.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame is winning this first round. JD, over to you.
I'm taking Indiana.
Ooh.
I don't trust. The Notre Dame has done this to us so many times. They've given us this false impression that they're the best team, and then they've screwed the pooch in the playoff era. They've just done it so many times. I wouldn't put my money on those guys. They are only playing 25 minutes. They're used to the climate. They're used to the environment. They know the history of Notre Dame, and they're not afraid of touchdown Jesus. Hey, touchdown Jesus has let them down so many times up there in Notre Dame, especially in the playoff era. Like, nobody's afraid of Rudy. We've all seen it. We've seen the little thing he hit. Like, and I'm with you. And I'm rocking with Marshall.
I hate that movie, by the way.
And if we are Marshall, that's all I'm saying. And if we're throwing it out there, just to be completely honest, I don't think they have the cojones to win the game. It has nothing to do with football stuff. That's mostly mental with these guys. Like, and it ain't like we're talking about Indiana steamrolled Purdue the other day, 66-0. They did lose they did lose to Ohio State 38-15, but the week before that they beat Michigan. So they've been inconsistent. Like, it's more like inconsistency, but they beat FSU. They beat some teams. I mean, FSU's not FSU.
Everybody beat FSU.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just going through their schedule. They beat Virginia. They beat some guys. I mean, I just want to be honest. Like, I just don't trust. I don't trust Notre Dame. I just don't trust them. I won't put my money on it. Until they show me otherwise. I won't put my money on them. Not in the playoffs. Playoffs.
Moving on over. SM, and probably, in my opinion, and I'll start us off, in one of the potentially most lopsided climate matchups I have ever seen.
Yep.
Everybody that I have seen is taking Penn State to just destroy SMU simply because of the weather, because of the quality of football, because of, and I am no different. Penn State should win this game by 2-3 touchdowns. It's why it's not one of the marquee matchups on Saturday. It's why it's the noon game. It just is. I think Penn State wins this game and by a good amount.
You want to go first? I know you're a Penn State guy. Do you want to go last because you're Penn State guy?
He goes last.
Okay. I am also going to take Penn State. And I think the timing of it is so you don't have such a huge advantage, because when the lights go down, I've been to Penn State in a whiteout when I lived in Philly, and it is absolutely frigid. And I had on 2 Carhartts, and I had on 2 pairs of underwear, 2 pairs of socks, and I still was hating life. So I think that I don't think what time this game happens matters. I think they steamroll. I think we start to finally see James Franklin like come into his own. The same thing we're saying about Notre Dame. We're going to see. I just want to see Ryan Day, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. These guys got to prove themselves, and this is their opportunity to do it. I think that SMU gives them a perfect opportunity. SMU is going to also be licking their chops because they just got beat by Clemson, and so I think this is the best. This is the best scenario for Penn State to steamroll these guys, because if they hit them hard enough at first, they might stop punching. So I got this game can get out of hand quickly, especially if the tight ends become a factor early.
Yeah, but then who's going to come in and play backup quarterback for Penn State?
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. I don't. When those people are in there, whatever the theme is for that night, when they hear those 50,000 or however many people are in there, what is it hold, like 100-something thousand or something crazy?
107.
When they see 107,000 people cheering against them, and they ain't got nobody that made the trip from Texas, them kids been sleeping out there. They're probably sleeping out there right now. They're ready for this game. They've been drunk since last Friday.
Yeah.
They didn't go home for the break, baby. They're there. They're gonna be on SMU's ass all night. It gets over with.
Okay. Adam, you're the Penn State guy here.
I'm gonna shock the world and take SMU. I'm just kidding.
I was about to say.
I have a heart attack.
No. So I remember, I think a couple days ago, SMU was practicing playing Mo Bamba to try to replicate the noise you're gonna hear at Beaver Stadium. It was 72 degrees while they were practicing outside. I just looked. It's a high of 29 and happy
29.
29.
And that's at noon. Guys.
That's at high noon.
Yeah.
That's right here.
Like, let's be real. I think so. When I compare both teams, like I know you guys keep saying it's gonna be a blowout, it's gonna be a blowout, it's gonna be a blowout. I don't think so. I do think Penn State's going to win this game.
Okay.
And I think there's gonna be two reasons why they do that. One, they need to establish the run game early. There's no question about SMU has been one of the best run defenses in college football this season. The only thing I'll say about that is they haven't played a running back room like Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. They haven't seen a dynamic duo like that all year long. I think these are the two that be able to knock down that run defense. Once they establish that run game, then allow Drew Allar to pick apart that defense because SMU's biggest flaw on defense is their secondary. That's what Clemson tore them apart was how horrible of a secondary they have. Drew Allar's biggest issue has been his decision-making and trying to force throws that aren't there. You establish that run game early, bring guys down, that's going to open up way more opportunities for Allar. On the defensive side of the ball, SMU's quarterback, what's his name? Kevin Jennings, not a really good quarterback, really good athlete, good about scrambling. Their offensive line has struggled all year. The defensive line, the guys that got dual Carter, need to collapse the pocket quickly, which are more than capable of doing. So if they can win the game in the trenches, I think Penn State walks away with a cakewalk. If they force Drew Allar to throw early, I think this is a much closer game than what people are anticipating. But you can't ignore the weather. It's going to be a high of 29. SMU was practicing in 70-degree weather a couple of days ago. Like, they haven't been in an environment like Penn State all season long. Everything says Penn State, which scares the living shit out of me. Because, again, still have Jim Franklin, as one of you just said. So
no disrespect.
So, we still have Jim Franklin. So not really sure what to do with him.
Yeah.
Probably should hire his brother James.
Well, maybe. He's a local guy. I heard he's from Langhorne.
Oh, man. You used to live near Langhorne. That's awesome.
All right, so we're all in agreement there. We are not in agreement in the second round matchup here.
Yeah, I mean, actually,
we got Notre Dame. Adam and I have Notre Dame versus Georgia, and you have Indiana versus Georgia. JD, tell me why Georgia still is going to beat up on Indiana.
Go Dogs. That's all I want to say. Go Dogs, man. Defense travels. That defense is stout. I know that everyone's talking about Notre Dame's defense. But it's just in the SEC it just matters more. it just matters more. I don't care if Carson Beck plays or not. Like, that defense is gonna travel. They're gonna hit. They're gonna run the ball. They're just gonna run it down their throats until they quit. So I'm not betting against Georgia. I'd be stupid too.
Adam, Notre Dame or Georgia?
Hopefully you'll all be able to hear this.
Really?
What is happening?
Here come the Irish. I think if Carson Beck plays, I'm leaning towards Georgia. I think this is a lot closer game than what people want to think. I like this I'm really, really sold on this Notre Dame defense, especially with a guy. They're about to face a quarterback who's making their first career start. I'm not sure where this game is. It might be the Sugar Bowl, maybe. Sugar or Orange.
That sounds right.
If it's a Sugar Bowl, then it's a home game for Georgia.
Yeah, that doesn't make a difference. No,
Sugar Bowl's in
Orange Bowl is basically a home game for Georgia too.
You're right. You're right. I'm
Yeah.
not saying if
Either
it's up
one's
and
going
down
to be a home game for Georgia.
It is indeed the Sugar Bowl.
it's
Okay,
in
that's
New Orleans, baby.
It's a little bit closer than the Orange Bowl. But I'm really, really sold on this Notre Dame defense. We haven't mentioned him. I'm a huge Riley Leonard fan. I really like what he's been able to do. I was hoping he was going to when he left Duke, go to a program like, I actually was kind of hoping to go to Ohio State a little bit, but I really like what Riley Leonard has been able to do. I think he's kind of been in the shadows at Duke a little bit, not in the big spotlight. I think this is his opportunity to show you. He's actually been one of the better quarterbacks in college football. Combine that with Georgia having to throw a quarterback that's making their first career start. The Notre Dame defense is not a team you want to make your first career start, especially in a playoff game. I'm taking Notre Dame for the upset. Why not?
Okay, well, I think you're a little drunk over there.
A little bit.
Cheers.
I think that, look, not having your starting quarterback is definitely going to hinder your team a little bit. We don't really know what Gunnar Stockton is going to bring yet. But as my dogs just said, I have the Georgia Bulldogs winning this game. I just think that they are too good. They've been here before, and they found their success here before. So to me, I just don't see that Notre Dame is going to be able to do what they need to do. Yeah. Steel Step saying, Bulldogs with no Beckett losing to the Irish. It's an interesting sub storyline. It really is. It is an interesting sub storyline. I just do not know. I'm kind of here with JD on this. Until Notre Dame actually does prove us wrong, I don't have them able to beat a perennial champion in Georgia. Not yet. So I too am taking the Bulldogs. We have a same matchup here in our quarterfinal matchup. We have Penn State versus Boise. Somebody go. I shan't.
We are.
Penn State. Uh-oh. Adam, you're the one making a face here.
I'm going to shock the world. I think Boise State takes them, to be honest.
Ooh.
Boise State, I'm just going to confirm. They have one loss this year. That was a 3-point loss to Oregon. They're not going to be afraid of this matchup, just straight up. They went into Eugene and lost by 3 to Oregon, who's now the number 1 seed, undefeated in this league. To me, this screams trap game for Penn State. On paper, Penn State's the best team, the better team, no question about it. They have the offense. They obviously don't have the best player on the field, but they have the better team. But we're going to talk about this is James Franklin when time calls. I don't trust James Franklin, to be honest.
That's a big point.
Boise State right now, like to them, they're on cloud 9. They're on top of the world right now. Like they have one loss this year. It was a very good loss in my opinion to lose by 3 points to Oregon. The only other team that lost that close to Oregon was Ohio State.
I don't know what I'm looking at. Oh, you got a new player. That's nice.
Oh, look at that. Look at Dabo looking in the transfer portal.
Going to the transfer portal. Look at this guy.
I'm sorry. Dabo's looking ahead to next season. What's going on?
You gotta start with the iron side.
But I think
Steel Step saying, can you say that there's a trap game in the playoffs? That's interesting.
The Penn State, James Franklin will find a way to James Franklin the game. So
I'm gonna go with the upset.
I really hope I'm wrong.
But it's how can you say that? Because giving Notre Dame the nod when their coach hasn't won any big game either, or Ryan Day for that matter.
Fair. I got no argument to that.
Cheers. It's this kind of hard-hitting journalism that I appreciate the most.
Cheers.
All right, that puts us in a whole bunch of chaos in the semifinal then. We've got – no, I clicked the wrong button. I'm sorry. JD and I have Penn State versus Georgia, and Adam has Notre Dame versus Boise State. So,
Mm.
Let's knock out the Penn State Georgia side of things.
Okay.
JD, Penn State versus Georgia. Who you got going to the chip?
This is tricky.
It is a tricky matchup.
This is tricky because, like you said before, in the previous times we've talked, Adam, like Georgia presents a problem because it's a guy's first start. And we said we didn't want that to be the first start if it was Notre Dame or whatever. But if it's Penn State, I don't like that matchup either. For the second start for a guy. And depending on how Penn State, how Georgia wins that first game, if they do it with running, then I think Penn State can stop the run. So it gives them a different perspective. Thinking about it in real time because I hadn't thought about it, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go with my gut. My gut tells me if Penn State wins that last round and they get over that little hump with James Franklin, I think they can kind of push forward. So I'll take Penn State to beat Georgia if they can get past that round, just because there's so much uncertainty with the quarterback situation in Georgia.
Yeah, along those similar lines, I have no faith in Jimmy Franklin in big games. I have a lot of faith in Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart finds ways to win when everything is going against him. And here, I don't know how much is really going against him. Georgia is a powerhouse from the SEC. Yes, they faltered a little bit here and there, but I just don't think that Penn State has the ability to go a full 4 quarters against a team of that caliber and not make a catastrophic mistake that will cost them the game. I do have Georgia making it to the national championship game. Now, in the What Are You Smoking Bowl, Notre Dame versus Boise State for Adam. Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, again, I'm going to keep riding this Notre Dame defense.
Oh, my God.
I like this guy. He's going to stick to his guns, and I love it.
Sticking to my guns, man. Sticking to the Notre Dame defense. I'm sticking to Riley Leonard. I've been a huge fan of him all season long. I think it's one of those things that we keep talking about. James Franklin. He needs to get over that hump. He needs to win that game. The same needs to be said about Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman. I think if Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame can get over that hump of Georgia, which everything right now is giving them that opportunity to, with Carson Beck being out, I think they're going to steamroll Boise. Boise State has not seen a defense like Notre Dame this year. As much as Oregon was a good team and a good defense, Oregon defense versus Notre Dame defense, I'm taking Notre Dame 100 times out of 100. So I think Notre Dame wins this game fairly easily as well. Go Irish.
So one thing that I was not expecting, okay, and I've tabulated the results here. All of us have a different national championship, which I did expect. I was not expecting it to be 6 different matchups, 6 different teams.
Mayhem.
So
look at us.
Here's what we have. JD, your national championship is Penn State versus Clemson.
I can't lose then. I can't lose.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Show your work. What are you doing?
Okay. Because I have a love for both of these teams, a severe love. I am a Penn Tiger. It's a known fact. It's a known fact, and I'll show my work. I think that these teams have been casted out by everybody before the playoff has even started. No one has given them a chance. No one's talking about these two teams. And because they're not, in our history of playoffs in the past, those are the teams who come back and bite you in the behind. Because they're not scouted for. People look ahead of them because Clemson's the 12th seed. They really should be. They were 15th seed, to be honest. And they got in. Penn State is kind of the lost team at the Big Ten. No one really talks about Penn State. But Penn State's a good team. They have some stuff they got to get over as far as the James Franklin curse and things like that. But if they can put it all together, they have the talent, they have the defense, and they have the offensive weapons to be a problem. If it comes to that, I do take Penn State beating Clemson in the national championship game. If it comes to that, I just don't know if we'll have enough steam if we do get there. I don't know if we'll have enough steam to make it happen. It's after that kind of that long road, and we could, I would be happy if we do. But as of if I'm putting everything together, I think Penn State's a better team than Clemson after they get to that point.
Okay, you're about to make somebody a very happy Valley.
Just don't make it stand up. That's great. That's weird.
Wow. Adam's national championship is Notre Dame versus Texas.
I picked them at the start. I'm picking them now. Hook them, man.
Okay.
They have the best roster in my opinion, most balanced roster in college football. On all three sides. If they're healthy and Quinn Ewers is healthy, I think they can just cakewalk this to a national championship. Like I said, they struggled against Georgia this year. Everyone else they have really had their way with from the moment the ball was kicked off. So I'm taking Texas. Hook 'em.
Okay.
Hook 'em.
And hold on, things are happening on my screen. In the what we're going to call the traditional bowl, I have a matchup of Georgia versus Oregon. And this is going to be – I have so many thoughts on this game where Oregon has been the best team in football kind of all year. They have not lost yet. But the game is being played – the championship game is being played in Atlanta, Georgia, in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Go Dogs!
It is a literal home game for Georgia. But Georgia is going to potentially still be without their starting quarterback, who it looked like he had the Brock Purdy UCL injury in the SEC championship game. I'm not going to lie. It looked ugly. So I have a lot of flip-flopping. So that's where I go to the intangibles. I go to the coaching, and I go to the conference road that got you there. And I do have Georgia winning a home game for the national championship. Gentlemen, that was something.
It was something.
That was something.
The fact that we all had different championship matchups was weird. Like different teams entirely.
Dude, because that's the beauty of it all.
That's the excitement of it, yeah.
If somebody screws the pooch, which, dude, I'm talking about when Clemson lost to South Carolina, I for sure thought it was over. And well, I'm like a guy.
According to you, you had Penn State screwing the pooch when they played Georgia.
I do. Fair enough.
That's nasty. That's nasty.
But like the way this year has gone, there's been so many unexpected turns. Like I remember one Saturday, I watched my phone just ding, 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 upset alert, all in the same day. I think it was like week 6 or 7. And so this is basically setting up for week 7 in like real time and playoff time. Like these teams couldn't be more unevenly matched as far as like strength on weakness and weakness on strength. So you don't really know. And that's a testament to the playoff committee of putting teams in there that may not necessarily be natural like teams you put together. But you have some historic but historical schools. Like you got a all orange affair going down in Texas. It's going to be Clemson. You're not going to be able to tell the difference between the oranges more than likely. You're going to have a couple of teams that you would never see play in before, or you weren't around when they played to begin with. So I think the committee not only got it mostly right, but I think they've given us an exciting Saturday and Friday to get us through since the NBA sucks ass cheeks for most of us.
Adam, any parting thoughts?
I think it's really exciting that like it's now a 12-team playoff because like I've been thinking about like over the last couple of days, like when it was a 14 playoff, truthfully, majority of those semifinal games sucked. You knew who was gonna win from the start, even if it was a 4 seed versus a 1 seed. You knew who was gonna win that game. Like the only 3 games I can really think of the semifinal games that were good was that Michigan-Alabama game, the first Ohio State Clemson game, and the Georgia Oklahoma game. Outside of that, there really wasn't that spectacular of games, and this has been going on since what, 2014, 2015?
Yeah.
We're approaching 10 years of the college football playoff, and you're telling me of 20 semifinal games, 3 of them were good. We just went through a bunch of different possible matchups, and every one of them got me like super excited. Any one of our championship games happens, I'm going to be excited to watch that game. Even some of the semifinal games, like that's a game I've been like dreaming of happening. We finally getting that now with the 12-team playoff. They need to abandon how the hell they pick these 12 fucking teams and why Arizona State, Boise State are getting buys. That's not the point. But, we're getting Clemson and Texas as a first-round game. We get Tennessee, Ohio State under the lights, and the winner gets Oregon. Like, that's exciting stuff. We get that I never thought was going to happen 5 years ago.
It's going to be good. I'm Chip.
I'm Drip.
And we out of here. Adam, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thanks for having me.